Hello everyone, today we are going to explore a fascinating idea. What if our financial systems worked as efficiently as the energy systems in our cells? ATP, nature's perfect energy currency, shows us how energy can be stored, released, and recycled perfectly. What if money could flow this smoothly? Over the next 10 minutes, we'll discover how this biological miracle might inspire a financial revolution. Let's begin.
Consider ATP and ADP as the body's currency. Like money, ATP is generated, spent, and regenerated across various accounts, supporting vital processes in a decentralized fashion. The body's use of ATP and ADP can be viewed as a complex and dispersed system that ensures energy availability where and when it is required. Decentralized banks. The synthesis of ATP is quite dispersed. The mitochondria, the primary bank for ATP, is the site of oxidative phosphorylation, which produces the majority of ATP in cells with high energy requirements, such as muscle and liver cells. But synthesis of ATP doesn't end there. Without the need for mitochondria, glycolysis, which takes place in the cytoplasm, converts glucose into ATP. This implies that ATP may be produced by cells without mitochondria, such as red blood cells. Similar to having several currency manufacturing facilities spread around the economy, this approach enables ATP to be produced in a variety of locations. Making use of the currency, nearly all cellular functions are powered by ATP, which serves as the currency. Just like money fuels transactions, ATP drives processes like muscle contraction, protein synthesis, and active transport of ions across membranes. Different cells have unique tasks where they spend ATP. For example, muscle cells require ATP to contract, but neurons use it to sustain ion gradients and neurotransmission. Energy can flow effectively because of the decentralization, which may be adjusted to meet the unique requirements of tissues and organs. Using the currency, again, ATP is transformed into ADP, or spent currency, once it has been used up. There are several ways to recharge ADP into ATP. The main process in which mitochondria regenerate ATP is called oxidative phosphorylation. Furthermore, during periods of high activity, the phosphocreatine system in a muscle cells quickly regenerates ATP. Additionally, glycolysis aids in the cytoplasm's ATP regeneration. Similar to how money is continuously cycled and redistributed throughout local energy demands. To sum up, ATP and ADP molecules function as currency in the body's extensive network, ensuring that energy is generated, utilized, and recycled in a decentralized, effective manner to satisfy the demands of different cells and systems.
Adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, is the energy currency of the cell. It is made up of a nitrogenous base, a sugar molecule, and 3 phosphate molecules. When the body has a need for energy, ATP splits off a phosphate molecule, and it transfers the energy to the cell. Like a battery, once it provides its energy, it enters a lower charge state called adenosine diphosphate, or ADP. The body maintains a constant supply of ATP, so that any energy demand can be filled while the ADP recharges into ATP. This is called the ATP-ADP cycle and ensures that life can be maintained. The body ensures the supply of energy is always enough to meet the needs of the cells. When the demand arises, ATP couples to the cell, pairing an exergonic and endergonic reaction together and breaking the bond of one phosphate molecule, generating energy. This process is called hydrolysis. If the demand for energy is unusually high, the new ADP molecule can repeat the reaction and separate from another phosphate molecule, becoming adenosine monophosphate, or AMP. The now depleted ADP, or AMP molecule, reattaches a free phosphate molecule, which is generated through the breakdown of food during digestion and returns to a fully charged state, similarly to the power cycle of a rechargeable battery. The depleted ADP molecule begins to attach to another phosphate immediately, in order to fill the energy demands of the body once again. It gets this free phosphate molecule through a process called glycolysis, where glucose is broken down within the cell. This act of cellular respiration will either happen through aerobic or anaerobic means, with or without oxygen. Usually, this will only happen anaerobically if the energy demand is so great that the oxygen supply is just not sufficient. Once the ADP molecule absorbs another phosphate and becomes ATP again, it repeats the cycle and attaches to another cell with an energy demand. The energy distribution process ensures the body is in equilibrium, with no cell receiving an excess of energy while another receives too little. The constant supply of energy from the ATP-ADP cycle acts very much like a rechargeable battery, ensuring every energy need is met all the time.
And now, a comparison between the gold standard currency and a potential ATP-based currency. We're going to look at the medium of exchange, the store of value, and the unit of account, and how that would work with all three, and reveal some similarities and differences. So first, the store of value. This is where gold has its biggest strength. It's durable, it's scarce, it's inflation resistant, and civilizations have used it for centuries. Similarly, ATP stores chemical energy within the cell, but it doesn't store it indefinitely, and this is the big difference. Gold lends itself to accumulation and long-term storage, whereas ATP is constantly broken down and regenerated. So there's a bit of a difference there in terms of the rapid turnover of ATP. Next, we get to the medium of exchange. Gold is not particularly efficient here. It's heavy, it's not easily divisible, and it requires intermediaries like banks to facilitate trade and storage. In contrast, an ATP-based currency would act as a decentralized real-time medium of exchange within and across cells, so within the economy. Wherever energy is needed, ATP is broken down locally and instantly. The actual store of value itself, that being the energy, is what is broken down immediately at the source. So it would be as if we were paying for goods and services with actual gold all the time. The gold standard was reliant on a paper currency to facilitate exchange in an effective manner, and ATP doesn't require this. The store of value, that being the energy stored in the phosphate bonds, is stored locally and exchanged locally and directly. And lastly, the unit of account. Gold's value fluctuates based on mining markets and speculation, so it is particularly susceptible to supply shocks. That makes it unreliable for precisely measuring value over time. On the other hand, ATP is more consistent within its biological context. Its unit of measurement in joules reflects the actual value of the energy, and that does not fluctuate over time. It's intrinsically linked to its contribution to the cell. So, to conclude, while gold functioned well as a store of value, it was limited in its exchange and reliant on a paper currency to facilitate exchange, and it's unstable as a consistent unit of measure due to susceptibility to supply shocks and speculation. ATP flips that script. It's not about storing wealth and accumulating wealth if in the long term, but about mobilizing energy or currency quickly and efficiently.
Imagine if our money worked like ATP, the molecule that powers every living cell. In biology, ATP isn't just some energy sitting around waiting to be used. It's purpose-driven. Each molecule is like a charged battery, but it only activates when it meets the right match, the right enzyme. According to Chapter 4 of Enzymes, 2nd edition, Palmer and bonded state, a characteristic feature of enzymes is that they are specific in action. This means ATP doesn't work everywhere. It needs a perfect fit to release its energy. That's what keeps our cells efficient and responsive. Now, imagine our money doing the same thing. What if your digital wallet held purpose-tagged currency, with tokens were each coded for a particular use? You might have health tokens that can only be spent on GP visits, prescriptions, or gym memberships. Education tokens that cover uni fees, textbooks, or online courses. Sustainability credits that give you discounts for using public transport or having to buy secondhand clothes, or local economy coins that only work at small businesses within 10 kilometers of a home, boosting community resilience. In our bodies, enzymes like glucokinase are incredibly selective. They only allow ATP to transfer its energy to glucose and not to any other sugar. That's how tightly controlled the system is. In the same way, an ATP-like economy would make sure that money only activates where it's supposed to, reducing waste, misuse, and hoarding. Money becomes a tool for flow, not accumulation. Just like in our cells, economic energy would be in a constant motion, fueling what needs to get done. So, instead of printing money and hoping it trickles down, what if we targeted it, where each unit has a mission, a match, and a moment to act? It's an idea that challenges how we think about currency, not just as a value, but as an energy, designed for use, not storage.
As we have seen today, nature perfect energy management billions of years ago. The ATP cycle shows us the power of instant energy conversion, perfect decentralization, self-renewing systems. What if our financial systems could achieve this same elegance? The solution to tomorrow's economy challenge might not be in the ballrooms, but in the biology. Thank you.